It is National Fire Prevention Month, and so we have with us Brian Klingenfield to talk with us about how smoke alarms save lives.
Yes, absolutely. Having a working smoke alarm in your home doubles the chance that you will get out alive.
Do you find that a lot of calls, the reason for the fire is because of not a working smoke alarm?
Well, so having a working smoke alarm is actually something after the fire starts. So having a working smoke alarm doesn't prevent the fire, but it helps people to get out safely.
Yes.
And we find that actually most homes now have working smoke alarms. That's the great thing. I think the national statistics say about 95% of American households now have working smoke alarms, and that's fantastic. But out of those 95%, only about half of them work. So people have either let them go way past their lifespan. The lifespan of a smoke alarm is 10 years. And I talk to people all the time here in Roanoke County who tell me, oh, my smoke alarm's been in my house for 25 or 30 years and we've never done anything with it. Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Or they don't test the batteries, they don't change the batteries, something like that. So that's why we talk about having a working smoke alarm doubles your chance of getting out alive, because most people have them. It's just that they haven't updated them, or they haven't put new batteries in them, they haven't tested it, something like that.
Yeah, and so I know my family would test them every time the time changes.
Yes, that's a great thing to do. So time changes twice a year. You really only need to do that once a year, but it's a good time to remember. So whether you do it in the spring or the fall doesn't really matter to us, but it is important to do that, to test them, and time change is an excellent time to do that.
Yeah, so can we talk a little bit about just what you find is the most common cause of a fire and how we can prevent that?
Yep. So the theme this year for National Fire Prevention Month has to do with cooking safety, and it talks about cooking safety starts with you. And that's because the reason they picked that theme is cooking is the #1 cause of house fires across the United States. When we run our own numbers here in Roanoke County, we find that cooking is the #1 cause of house fires here in Roanoke County as well. So a lot of that comes from unattended cooking, people who put something on the stove and then get distracted in some way. So maybe it's the phone, maybe it's football season has started and I want to go in and I want to watch the football game, and I forget that I have something on the stove, or I answer the door, or whatever it is, somehow getting distracted when you have something on the stove. It's very important anytime you have anything on the stove top to stay with it. And what we recommend is if you think you're going to get distracted, put something in your hand. Wooden spoon, spatula, just something that's going to be a physical reminder, so that when you go in the other room to check on the game or whatever, you can look at that and go, now, oh, yep, I need to get back into the kitchen. So that's a good thing to do. I've had other people tell me that they just set their kitchen timer anytime they have anything on the stove, even if they're boiling water. They set it for 3 minutes or whatever, and then when it goes off, it reminds them, oh, I got something on the stove and I need to go back and check on it.
Okay, Brian, so what is the ideal placement for a smoke alarm?
So having talked about how cooking is the #1 cause of house fires, a lot of people think, oh, well, I need to then put a smoke alarm in my kitchen. But we don't really recommend that, and national standards don't recommend that either, because what's going to happen is if you put it in the kitchen, you're going to get lots of false alarms. So every time somebody burns the toast, it's going to go off. It becomes a nuisance. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to rip the battery out of it or knock it off the wall or something like that, and it doesn't do anybody any good. Plus, I've just told you that if you have something on the stovetop, you're really supposed to be with it. So you're going to know if a fire starts in the kitchen because you should be there. Where we want you to have the smoke alarms is near the bedrooms, because when you're asleep is when you're most at risk from a fire. So we want those smoke alarms in the bedroom, you know, maybe in the bedroom itself or in the hallway right outside the bedrooms. That's really where we want the smoke alarms, so that we wake people up in the middle of the night when there is a fire.
Well, those are some good tips. I know that will be useful as we are now in National Fire Prevention Month.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.